Hey everybody, it's Ryan Haggerty, and I'm here with Jeff from the Supraphonics. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great, thank you.
It's great to have you on. I checked your music out, and it's really super cool. And it was suggested to me by the surf community. But what I found interesting about the Plays the Ventures album is that you don't just stay in the genre. You play the Ventures that they made tons of albums that were more psychedelic and stuff like that. Do you want to talk
Yes.
about why you chose that era to play?
Yeah. Um, you know, that has always been my favorite Ventures period. Um, and that was a time when they were putting out, I think, more of their own songs on their records. And they were experimenting and they were, recording with fuzz pedals and echo and having a keyboard player come and play. Um, and out. And you know, a number of their covers weren't really surfy either at that point, because they were covering, kind of mid '60s songs then too, which weren't really surfy. But some of their original music, which was my focus on this album, was pretty out there. Not super surfy, instrumental, yes, but they were taking risks and doing really interesting and cool and at times kind of weird stuff. And I've always liked that side of them the best. So I kind of wanted to focus on that period and on some of those songs that were not at all hits, were not heard by a whole lot of people, but I just thought that they were great. I mean, on the record, I threw out a couple of songs that Ventures fans and even non Ventures fans might know, like Surf Rider, or Pedal Pusher. But for the most part, I was going for some of these other ones, which aren't very popular, but I always thought were, really their best and coolest songs.
Very cool. Um, which leads me to your other album, the Christmas album, which is very different. What was the inspiration for the music? Doing Christmas songs is always great for surf, but what was the inspiration behind the arrangements and things like that?
Yeah. So that started out a long time ago as just a side project record. And I played with it, and it took me like 10 years to actually finish the darn thing. And it started out with, just one song that I did on a lark, Holly Jolly Christmas, which is kind of a surf version. Um, but then I started to think about it and like the Ventures, which kind of, the Ventures Christmas album is like one of my favorite albums of all time, like top 5 albums, just albums. Their first 1965 Christmas album. And so I just started to look for some other songs. Some of them are classics, and some of them are kind of off center weirdos. Like Jingle 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 from the Rudolph TV soundtrack. And I was just kind of going for a range of surfy, but also a little lounge instrumental kinds of things too, just to show some range. There is one, uh, Midnight Clear, which has kind of a country feel, and I was kind of going for something, more like the Tammy Wynette version, the lead instrument is a baritone guitar, very, very, very country. It has a waltz beat. So I was just trying to mix it up, not a straight surf Christmas album, of which there are many, and I love all of them, but just, trying to have some surfy things in there, but also some other genres or other, kinds of music to just mix it up a little bit.
I love the diverse album. I think it's great
Thanks.
within the genre and the subgenres. There's kind of a connection between all the songs, however different they may be, which is really cool.
Well, thank you.
Um, so how did you start this project, the Supraphonics? When did you start it, and how did you get your releases out?
Yeah, so I've been playing here in bands in Little Rock, Arkansas for about 23 or 24 years now. And my main band during this period has been a band called Mulehead, which is more Americana, roots rock, kind of no depression stuff. It's singer, songwriter, rootsy rock stuff. And so we started that in the late 90s. And I guess in the early 2000s, we, signed with a local label called Max Recordings that's run by a friend of mine named Bert Taggart. And, he was putting out all of our band albums. We did a bunch of solo albums with the singer-songwriter or other bands. So he's just kind of been the label that I and we have used for quite a long time. And I started the surf instrumental Christmas thing in like 2005 or something. And I just kind of did a song a year or not for 10, 11 years. And then it was finally coming together and it's like, I think this is an album. And I just talked to Bert at Max and said, okay, I have this album that is not like any of the other things that you have on your label, but I'd like to put it out. I was happy to put up, most of the money to have it, produced, just to get it out there. I had zero presence in the surf scene up until that point. So I finished it. Nobody knew my name, Jeff Curran, in the surf scene. I just kind of chose a surf genre-like name. I play supraphonic snare drums a lot because that's a kind of snare drum from Ludwig. So I just I chose that name, and I put it out there, and that was in I think late 2017. And I just started to look around for surf zines and DJs and podcasts. And I just started to email them and said, hey, I have this record, you've never heard of me or this band, and it's brand new. And maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. And will you let me send you some? So I just started to send copies of that album to anybody who would take one. Just have people hear it. I wasn't really selling a whole lot of them. I didn't start a surf band to make any money. So I was just giving out a lot, like to anybody who would want one. I was emailing bands that I really liked and said, hey, I like your band. Can I send you a free record? And most people said, yeah, sure. So I just started that then. Some of those songs got picked up on some podcasts like Clint Beechwood, and some other podcasts. Sean Berry from Double Crown Records picked it up, as something that he was, willing to sell, and he sold some. He did a review. It got a little attention, I suppose. And, in the years after that went out, when it came back to Christmas time, I would hear it, hear some more songs on everybody's Christmas surf, whatever podcast. And so after that album, I I thought about it, and then I said, all right, well, I'm going to do this next project, which is covers of Venture's original songs, most of whom are, from this weirdo genre. And then I'll do the same thing. I'll make a bunch. I'll send them out to anybody for free who would take them, just to play them and listen to them, advertise, in the Continental magazine. And this one seems to be selling a bit more and getting a little more attention. And that's fun. There's a lot of Ventures fans out there,
Yeah.
and I tried hard, to get them in the hands of known Ventures fans like, Deke Dickerson and other people, like just trying to get it out there and have people listen to it, really.
Very cool. Which leads me to my next question. What are you working on now, if anything? I know we're kind of in lockdown and there's not much to do other than, work. I mean, that's a lot, that takes up a lot of time, but I'm sure you're working on something now. What might that be?
Yeah. So the nice thing about a solo project where you're kind of playing all of the stuff is in a lockdown where, nobody can come over to your teeny studio with windows, is you can work on stuff yourself. So I didn't finish the music for the Supraphonics Ventures album till probably, a few months into the COVID stuff. And then I kind of took the fall off to, promote the record, which was going to come out in November. But in the last few months, I've started on some new material, and I'm trying to challenge myself by not doing covers. So I'm trying to write original surf music, really for the first time, which always scared me. On the Christmas album, I did one original song on it. And then for the Ventures album, I mean, it's all cover. So over 2 albums, I only have one original song. So it's like, okay, it's try to break through the fear and try to write some of your own songs. So that's what I'm trying to do now. So I have parts of two songs done. I started a third one today, actually. So I'm trying to do that. I had never been a songwriter. I had been a drummer in all of my bands or a guitar player. Hadn't really tried to write a lot of songs and never really thought that was my talent. I really like arranging, and I like to take, songs that are out there and mess with them and, add some new things. So I like arranging, and I would take arranging roles in some of my own bands with the songs, that I didn't write. But now I'm trying to bite the bullet and say, okay, I'm going to write a bunch of original surf instrumental songs and just see what happens, to see if they're any good.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's next.
That the outcome must be very rewarding for you. I would assume, being that you play everything and it's your first venture, no pun intended, into writing. Writing is a very rewarding activity, don't you think?
It is. I am still kind of a little scared of it, to be honest. There was something very comforting for me for a long time to start with a base of a song that I already thought was great and then mess with it, arrange it differently, add parts, add structure, add a solo. Now I'm trying to write my own things. So it is pretty fun. I'm still pretty scared of it, but I'm just trying to do it because it seemed like that was the next thing that I should try.
Very cool. I'm very interested in the approach you take with your arranging, and you're playing. It sounds like a very full band. So I'd like to
Yes.
I'd like to know what the trick is to get a one man band to sound so big.
Yeah. So how I usually start is with a drum machine pattern that I just play for 5 minutes, right? And then I start to add parts to it. So I'd start with the drum machine. I'd add rhythm guitars and maybe a bass, and then I'd add drums, and then some keys, percussion. For the Ventures covers album, I actually tried to have it sound kind of like a band, but a very big band. So I sort of had this notion of, okay, well, there's a drummer, there's a bass player, there's two rhythm guitar players, a lead guitar player who plays lead and melody, there's a keyboard player, percussionist, and a baritone guitar player who might play 12 string or sitar or sort of the weird. And so on most of these songs, there's just a lot of parts happening. There's, in the headphones, you can kind of see, like, there's a guitar over here, and then there's one over here, and then there's one over there. And so I kind of went for, it's surf music kind of, or a lot, but it's like an 8-piece band playing surf music with percussionists, keyboards going, multiple guitars, baritones. So really kind of going for a full sound that isn't the first wave surf, guitar, bass, and the drums, bass, and two guitars. I was automatically going for a much larger band sound. So that was kind of a key philosophy for this album.
Very, very cool. So where can people find your music? How can people get in contact with you? Maybe to grab a CD, or just find out a little bit more about your band.
Sure. So I have a website. It has kind of a long name, but it's supraphonicssurfcombo.com. And that, has, so I sell albums and t-shirts and things off of the website. For the Christmas album, I have a CD. For the Ventures, I have vinyl, pink vinyl, and
Ooh.
CD also. Stickers, t-shirts. I also have a long liner, like a liner notes page for each album, where I talk about the overall approach and how each song was recorded, and what kinds of guitars and amps were used for gear kind of geeks. So that's really the main spot. They're on Spotify too. So you can listen there also.
Very cool. Is there anything else you'd like to mention we didn't talk about, that you might want the listeners to hear or learn about?
Oh, geez, I don't think so. I mean, this has been, really, really fun, Ryan, and thank you. As I was saying to you before, it's like, look, I don't have a big presence in the surf scene. I don't tour with surf. I can't. I mean, I actually am putting together a local live band, or I was starting to when COVID hit. We had a couple of Christmas shows booked for 2020 to play the Christmas album, and then they were all canceled. Yeah. So in the future, I hope to have a live act. It likely will just be a local regional effort. I have a day job. Lots of these folks do too. We aren't super pros. We're semi-pros at best, really. But we hope to get out there. I'd love to try to get into some of these festivals, where the real surf bands go and play. You know, I have emailed a bunch of them. I've sent them albums. You know, people are super, super, super nice, very supportive in this genre. So I just hope that when all this COVID stuff is over, I can start to go to some of these festivals, even if I don't play, and just, you know, meet the folks and maybe sell some records. But, you know, I would hope to become, you know, more and more in it, make a live band and go actually play some shows there.
That would be fantastic. I think you would be a perfect fit.
Well, thanks. Yeah. You know, Little Rock is not a big place, and, you know, it's certainly not a surf mecca. I mean, you know, I often, you know, say that the Supraphonics are Pulaski County's not like #1 surf combo. Pulaski County is my county here in Central Arkansas. I mean, we're the only surf combo probably in all of Arkansas. So there's just not a surf scene here whatsoever. So, you know, some of my friends, you know, will tolerate it or even like it. But yeah, I would love to go play, you know, some of these festivals with other, you know, real surf bands and meet them.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Yeah.
I love all the bands that play there. I've never gotten to go yet, but it's on my bucket list.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Surfer Joe in Italy or something, or, you know, man, I would just love it. You know, going to see the, you know, the Space Cossacks and Messer Chups and things just killing it. I mean, it would be fantastic.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Well, I want to thank you so much, Jeff, for the talk.
Well,
I had a
man,
great
it's been my pleasure.
I had a great time and I really enjoyed your music.
Thanks.
It was great. Every time I go home from work, when I'm doing an interview, I go home really late at night, so there's nobody on the road. And I put the Ventures cover album on, and I was just like, oh yeah, this is totally drive music. And my commute's about an hour, so
Wow.
I really enjoyed it and got to just take it in without distraction. So I
Well,
just
that's great to hear. Thank you so much.
I want to
Thank
give
you.
you props. And I did get it on
Thank you.
iTunes. I did get it on iTunes. So for those who didn't know, it's also on iTunes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, great. Thanks.
So I want to thank you, and
Thank you, Ryan.
I really appreciate your time. I know it's kind of in the middle of the day for you.
That's perfect. Thank you.
But have a great day, and I can't wait to hear the new stuff.
Well, thanks. It's going to take me probably a few years, but as soon as it's done, I will send you a copy. That is for sure.
Awesome. All right. Have a
Thank you
great
so much,
day.
Ryan. Thanks. See ya.